Hey there, and welcome to Ask Diane number 37. Super excited having you here. I think there'll be a lot of good value in this episode. Before we jump into the questions we have today, as always, nothing is medical advice, just general thoughts and comments that I hope will help anyone that is tuning in here. So with that said, I want to start with a comment that I forgot to talk about last time. This is from Joy. It's a comment on Insomnia Insight number 306, and Joy said the following: Hi Daniel, my ability to fall asleep was severed by moving and trying to sleep on a couch with so much mental distraction around me. There was a moose also chewing all night. No, a mouse. There was a mouse also chewing all night. I completely lost my sleep rhythm and I'm now screwed. This was 2 years ago. I'm in hell. Have you heard of that man in England who hasn't slept in 50 years? He gets 20 minutes a night. He tried CBT, etc. I have scoliosis too and nerves vibrate. So what the heck can I do if I cannot even fall asleep? I do yawn in the daytime. My brain is wired up. What hope do I have? What to do? And I said the other day, sorry I missed this. I will talk about this on Monday. And then Joy said, thank you. One of my meds is making me twitching and I get some sleep using it. I'm terrified I will not sleep normally. So let's take the opportunity here to talk about the ability to sleep. And it is very, very common for someone to say that, or someone to think that, thanks for liking the video, whoever did that, thanks so much. It's very common for someone to say, I've lost the ability to sleep. And in my mind, that can mean one of the two things. Either someone is thinking that my body literally no longer can produce sleep. There's something wrong in my body and it cannot not sleep anymore. Typically, that's someone thinking something is wrong in my brain, that sleep switch is off, or my hormone levels are off, something is wrong in my body, I've lost the ability to sleep. Or it can mean I think I've lost a skill that I had in the past. In the past, I could make myself sleep. It was not much of a struggle. I could do that, but now I can no longer do that. Unlike other people still have that skill, but I've lost that skill or that ability. So to go with the first one, I want to say this, that the ability to sleep, meaning your body, the biological process of sleep, your body's ability to produce sleep, in fact, no matter what it can seem like, cannot be hurt or harmed or lost or destroyed. It's like the ability to think or the ability to breathe. You can't lose that ability. You can hold your breath for a very long time. You can hold your breath for maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes until you're blue in your face, but after a while, your body starts breathing again. Same thing with sleep. Like, you can go without sleep for a long time, but after a while, sleep comes back. Your body never loses the ability to produce sleep. That cannot happen. And now, going with that breathing analogy again, you can hold your breath for a very long time, but not to a point where you hurt yourself or damage yourself. Same thing with sleep. You can go sleepless for a long time, but not to a point where you damage your system, damage your brain, etc. Now, when it comes to having trouble sleeping or insomnia, almost everyone, no, I don't want to say, I'll take that back. I say a lot of people have a specific event or a series of events that they think has caused their trouble sleeping. In your case, it was like moving, sleeping on a couch. There was distraction. There was a mouse. And that is what we call the precipitating event. That's what triggered sleeplessness. That, there's no question in my mind, I'm sure you would agree with me, Joy, that event, that what happened there produced sleeplessness. There were, I'm sure, a couple nights at least where you slept very, very little. And that is normal. So far, that is normal. If we go through any type of stressful event and we sleep less, that is normal. If somebody said, I just heard that my mom is really sick, and then and I sleep great. That doesn't sit right. We're supposed to sleep less when we are stressed, and that's a very logical evolutionary reason for that. If we are under some kind of threat, there's kind of wolves in the neighborhood, blah blah blah, then it's a perfect defense mechanism, safety mechanism, to make us sleep very shallow, light sleep, little sleep, so we can keep ourselves safe. Okay, so far everything's normal. Now, what keeps insomnia going is what we call the perpetuating factors. That is when your brain starts identifying the lack of sleep as a threat. The brain goes like, oh my gosh, you haven't slept in 3 days. There's a problem here. You're under threat. This is something we got to do something about. The problem is that your brain is confused. It treats sleeplessness the same way it treats a wolf. When there's a wolf nearby, you're like, you have to fight or fight or fly. You have to do something about it. That works great for a wolf or a physical threat. But when the threat is sleeplessness, it doesn't work. You can't run away from sleeplessness. You can't run away from anxiety. You can't run away from fear. You can't fight it either. And then what happens is, like, when it doesn't get better, no matter how much you try, then your brain is like, whoa, this is a real big threat. This is bigger than I thought. I have to fight it even more. And then you have that cycle that produces long-standing insomnia. Very, very common scenario. Nothing unusual here, Joy. Nothing unusual here. I've not heard about the man in England, but we hear all kinds of stories. Even on my channel here, there's been people who said that, things that are very unlikely to be true or fact. So I want to say this, Joy, there is hope for everyone. There's absolutely zero reason to believe that you cannot sleep really well, that you can get to a point where you don't worry about your sleep at all. And now, it is not easy to get to that point, because you have to challenge your thoughts and your beliefs, and you have to teach your brain that it doesn't have to be afraid of sleeplessness. And how do you do that? Well, education is a huge one. I think you'll find a lot on this channel that can educate you. And the other thing is, once you start understanding why insomnia happens, etc., you have less questions. You're like, okay, yeah, that's it. I understand what happens. Then you can change your behavior, and you can start spending less time in bed, avoiding sleeping during the day, and just overall just trying less to sleep and teaching your brain that there's nothing to fear. That is the way towards sleeping really, really well. So I hope this helped, Joy. And I want to comment on the medication there. My meds started making me having twitching. Talk to your doctor, of course, if you have side effects. But I want to say this, that hyperarousal, when we are in this kind of anxious, worried, stressed state, then we notice all kinds of things like twitching, like weird tensions, and we have jerks and things like that. Those are very common with hyperarousal. Hyperarousal can cause a lot of things as well. So Joy, hang in there. Hope this helps. Stay in touch, and we'll go from there. All right. So that said, we have a live question from Malena. Cool. Malena said, "Hi Dan, hope you had a good weekend." I did. Thank you. Now, is it important to get out of bed at the end of your sleep window, or is it the case stay in bed awake? Okay, cool. Great question, Malena. And I want to take this opportunity to try to give you a formula that can answer this question and any other similar question that you have, which is the following one. So the question is like, should I do X or not? And here's the simple answer to that. If the thing you're asking about, the behavior you're asking about, is intended to make you sleep more, then guess what? Then you're trying to sleep. And the most fundamental question when it comes to sleep is, the most fundamental truth when it comes to sleep is, the more you try, the less you get. So if the intent of X is to make you sleep more, you should not do X. So Natasha has a question. Okay, we'll get to that one in a second here. So Malena, again, if your intent, if you're like, I'm gonna stay in bed after my sleep window, like after I should not sleep anymore, let's say, if your intent with staying in bed is, I hope I can get some more sleep, then that is not helpful. That is not something one should do. But if you're like, I'm going to stay in bed because it's so cozy. I know for sure I'm not going to sleep. I'm wide awake, etc. That's totally fine. Now, Natasha, oh my God, my fingers still smell after I washed them like 3 times after playing. Okay, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question. And I'm a sleep person, sleep coach, sleep physician. So I don't know that one, Natasha. But any sleep related question, then please ask me. All right. So that said, thanks, Malena, and we will jump into our emails here, and we have one that is from Faye, and here it is. Hello, Danilo. I've been doing much better since I started watching movie videos. That is amazing. Did everyone hear that? Faye, who had a lot of hypnic jerks and etc., is doing much better. I'm always so happy when I hear success stories. That's amazing. Now, here comes the question here. For a while, I was able to sleep with not waking up in the middle of the night, but the last couple of days, I've been waking up 1 to 3 times with no reasons. But it might be because I've been watching TV in my living room while laying down on it, and this might be causing this association with sleep and bed. Do you think that's the case? If so, does sitting on a couch or sitting on the ground and does sitting on a couch or sitting on the ground and watch TV is better? Okay, this is cool. We are going to use another formula here that I've been thinking a lot about lately. But first, for a while, I was able to sleep. That is a common phrase. A lot of people say, I managed to get some sleep. I was able to get some sleep. I made myself sleep, etc. That's not possible. In fact, you slept because you didn't try. The more you try to sleep, the less you get. So it wasn't that you were able to sleep, but it was because you actually were not trying that much that sleep happened. It's super important not to think of sleep as a skill or ability. Going back to our first answer here. Actually, it's cool. Let's see if this becomes a trend today. It seems like all answers here are kind of connected here. Now, the second thing here is like, okay, we already talked about the first formula, which is if you're thinking, should I do this? And in the end, you realize like, I'm thinking of doing this because I hope that will make me sleep more, then you shouldn't do that. Similarly, if you're like, should I avoid this? And then you think, and then you realize I'm thinking of avoiding this so I can sleep more, then you shouldn't avoid that because then you're trying to sleep again. Now, we have a little bit of a different one here from Faye, which is, should I do this or that, right? And for both of them, first you go to formula number 1, which is making sure you're not trying to sleep, okay? And if neither option A or option B is like what we call a sleep effort, if neither option A or option B is like something you to try to sleep, then the question becomes, if either of them is a sleep effort, you shouldn't do them. But if it's kind of neither, like either one is okay, but which one should I do? Then the answer is another formula, which is if you're thinking about doing A or B, then the answer is it doesn't matter. But what does matter is you thinking about doing A or B. You're thinking about like, should I do this or should I do that? Maybe I should do this or not that. That is a problem because now you're giving sleep attention. You're thinking about how to get more sleep, etc. So I think the simple answer here is it doesn't matter. It does not matter. A or B doesn't matter. But you thinking, pondering, trying to figure out, should I do A or B? That is a problem. Okay, Faye, super glad you're doing better. And I think I had said to you, Faye, somebody else, that I was going to talk about panic attacks at some point. I might actually do that today or in a different video. But anyway, super glad you're doing better. And with that said, we are going to talk to Malena again, I think, here. Daniel, now that I watched all your videos, really? Okay, that's amazing. I get a lot of recommendations on insomnia of how GABA or other vitamins, minerals, and how your gland in your brain does not produce melatonin. Continue from last message, list goes on, how to detox and other things. Why do you think other experts say this and have apparent studies? All right, okay. So here's the thing. It is from the perspective of somebody who has trouble sleeping, and the perspective of somebody who's trying to help that person who's trouble sleeping, both are actually interested in kind of a quick and easy fix. That's very natural. When I have a problem and I go on YouTube and look for videos to solve that problem, and there's a 2-minute video and an 8-minute video, I'm like, I'm going to go for the 2-minute video. I don't want to waste my time. We are all like that. And so when somebody has a problem, we're always looking for the easiest solution. We're humans. We all do that. And that applies again to both, hey, Zoltan, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well also. So we're always looking for this quickest solution. And that's why so many people say, hey, you should try this mineral, try this vitamin, try this thing, because it's a simple solution, presumably, that also people are very open to, because that seems like, oh, that could fix it, right? So I think that's why you hear so much about these things that actually don't work, and they don't work because they don't change your thoughts. And I can't wait to finish this model, by the way, but we've done a part of it, which is like thoughts produce emotions, right? And thoughts like, for example, I can't sleep. That's a big problem thought, right? Because that makes you anxious, and then you start like experimenting with sleep, and then that makes you not sleep more, and that confirms your thought, etc. That's like the insomnia cycle. Medications, minerals, supplements, none of that can change your thoughts. So no matter how much you take of anything, that can never change. And guess what? Here's the punchline here. It is hard work to get somebody to change their thoughts. It is hard work. I'm on episode like 310 or something like that, and I'm still trying to educate, talk to people, etc. And that's why the simple thing is to talk about vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. And that's why you hear so much about it, So that's that one. And then I hope that helped, Malena. And here is Zoltan, sleeping a lot better now, but I try not to worry about future sleep problems. That's amazing, Zoltan. I'm super happy that you're sleeping a lot better. And I try not to worry about future sleep problems. The key to that one. Okay, so I did this episode together with Nick Wignall, which is a great friend, and he's a psychologist. And we had a similar question. It was someone, in fact, who had the same concerns as you, Zoltan, somebody who had, what was his name again? I forget his name, but he was concerned about this sporadic fatal insomnia. He was doing better, but he was worried about having trouble sleeping in the future. And then Nick said something I never forget. He said the key, what you have to do now is you have to be willing to have insomnia. And that was like, oh, that was a new way of saying this. But if you are not willing to have trouble sleeping in the future, you will never get to a point where you sleep really well. You have to get to a point where you're kind of comfortable with the idea of having some sleepless nights. When you are not afraid of them, then they're not going to, you're going to have so much less of them. What we resist persists. Like the more you are trying to avoid sleepless nights, the more you are training your brain that they're dangerous. You should try to avoid them. We don't want that. They're a threat, etc. So I think the best thing to do to try to not have trouble sleeping in the future is to somehow work on trying to be like, if I have trouble sleeping in the future, that's okay. I'm going to get past it. And the more you become comfortable with the idea, the less trouble sleeping you're going to have in the future. Okay, so we have a question from Logan here. It's so cool. So many people I know here. Is there any way to get dreams back after you started losing them since you started having trouble sleeping? I'm still getting like 4 hours total. It sucks that I can't even recall dreams, huh? How should I put this? Dreams are tricky because you can have a lot of dreams actually when you sleep poorly. A lot of people with insomnia have like this hyperarousal, are very aware of what's going on, and also like in and out of sleep and have like vivid dreams, remember everything. And that could be a sign of poor sleep, And then other people who, for example, they've had trouble sleeping for a long time and you start them on CPAP, for example, and like, I dream again, And I think that's just like how that hyperarousal plays out. One person, they wake up and they remember their dreams and they go in that direction. Another person is kind of waking up in hyperarousal and it's just like so aware of I'm awake again that they don't register their dreams. So I want to say this: having dreams or not having dreams is, in my opinion, not a any helpful like sign of how good sleep you get. It's all about, again, how you feel during the day. That matters. So, but to answer your question, I definitely hear people say who had trouble sleeping, who are sleeping better, who say like, I now dream again. I now dream again. So it's in no way that, in no way can you lose the ability to dream. That cannot happen. And so I think if you had dreams in the past, then I think it is extremely likely that you will have dreams again when you're sleeping better. Yeah. And yeah, hang in there, Logan, and stay in touch, of course. And thanks for this live question, by the way. Okay, so we are gonna move then to where are we? Malena, we did that one. Oh, here we are. This is from Paul, and what happened here? Okay, this is the follow-up question from Paul. Exactly. All right. Came in 3 days ago. Dear Danelo, thanks for your reply and the response you gave on Ask 35. After a couple of false starts with sleep restriction, doing it for 4 and 5 days, but then being unable to stay awake till the beginning of the sleep window, I tried a third time. Now I'm going to bed at 11:30 and getting up at 6. I just got through a week. I've slept on average 4 hours per night, which is significantly less than what I was normally sleeping. Before, as I mentioned, I was sleeping around 10:30 to 11, waking up between 4 and 5. I'm happy to keep going with the process, as I know it's the best treatment available, but I just can't understand what's happening, as it's so counterintuitive. I'm going to bed an hour later than I normally do, and yet also waking up an hour or two earlier than I used to. Doesn't make any sense to me. The only silver lining in sleep has been so awful recently that I've almost come to the other side and become very calm about it. Can you please let me know what you think and where I can go from here? Yeah, absolutely. All right, a couple of things. Firstly, it is when we have any type of problem, we want to keep track, see how we're doing, of course. That is natural. But when it comes to sleep, it's often not helpful. Like, it seems like if you kind of keep a diary or track or something like that, how many hours you sleep, then that does not serve you well, because that pays more attention to your sleep, makes you more preoccupied with sleep, and you sleep less. So if you're tracking in any way how much you sleep, I'd say don't do that. If you are basing how much you slept just based on kind of a notion, I think I slept 4 hours, that's completely fine, of course. That's no problem with that. Now, the other thing was, I know, in our message here, we hear from Paul that, that sleep restriction is like the best treatment available. I want to challenge that by saying that between like spending less time in bed and understanding insomnia, I think the understanding insomnia part is much, 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 much more important. The educating part, the understanding of all the stuff I talk about, the education part, I think is much more important, because if you have, and I can't wait to complete this model again, but when your thoughts don't change, like your results, which come here, don't change. So if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep, that makes you frustrated, and you decide, I'm going to spend less time in bed, then what happens is you still don't sleep anymore, and that confirms your thought, I can't sleep, etc. So it's your thoughts have to change. That is the key to this. And the thought has to change, like from I can't sleep to something neutral, maybe in the beginning, like I don't think there's anything seriously wrong with me. That makes you a little bit more hopeful, and you spend less time in bed. That gives you a better result. So the thoughts are really what matters. So that was that one. Now, that said, when somebody starts spending less time in bed, you often have what my friend Martin Reed says is a nosedive. Like the first week into second week is often like, nosedive. And that's because insomnia loves attention. Anything you try to do to like get better, and particularly spending less time in bed, that makes your brain go kind of haywire. It's like, what's wrong with you? Like, you need more sleep. Why are you spending less time in bed? This is not going to work. You're crazy. You got to do the opposite, right? So there you often have this nosedive. And then when your brain is like, oh, wait a minute, I actually slept okay that night, I'm going to spend less time in bed. Maybe it's not as dangerous to sleep little. Maybe it's not a threat. Oh, then oftentimes people start doing well, like week 3 is very, very common. It can take longer, but that is very common. So that's an important one. And this one, I'm almost becoming calm about it. That made me excited. That made me really excited, because when people say like, I'm starting to become a little less anxious, I know that the next step is they're sleeping better. And the final step usually is that you start feeling less fatigued. So, so Paul, I think everything I hear here is very, very common, typical. I say, hang in there. It may not seem like it, but that thing about you said, I'm almost calm, that made me super, super excited. So yeah. All right, here is another email is from Abhi, and she wrote the following 3 days ago. Hi, Danelo. I'm Abhi, 27-year-old from Canada. I've been watching your videos after I started searching about hypnic jerks. I have a question for you. For the last 1 week, I have been having these weird twitches or jerks, mostly in my fingers and hands, occasionally my neck and head as well. These occur only when I'm drifting off to sleep and not during my sleep, according to my partner. My sleep cycle is very messed up. Usually I sleep at 2 a.m. and get up around 10 a.m. So I get 8 hours of sleep every day. But since I started noticing hypnic jerks, I have been feeling anxious to go to bed, because I feel anxious when I get these jerks and my mind starts racing. I'm a recent medical graduate. Oh, cool. So all the medical knowledge I have makes me want to think of the worst. Should I be worried? Is this because of stress due to the lockdown? I think it's also worth mentioning that I have anxiety and overthink everything, which doesn't help either. Please let me know if I'll need a sleep study. Thanks so much for the content. Abhi. All right, Abhi, I want to say first, congratulations on your graduation. It is a long path, and I'm sure you have residency now, maybe fellowship. Who knows? It's a long one, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy it a lot. But anyway, I think when somebody says this, like, I have these weird twitches, jerks, wherever they are, and they only happen really when I'm drifting off to sleep. My thought when I hear something like that is, these are hypnic jerks. I've never heard of anything else that causes that. And then if you add up to that I have anxiety and I overthink everything, well then, there's no mystery here to me. There's absolutely no mystery. Now, I think you probably already maybe seen some of the that playlist I mentioned and other content here. But the thing with these hypnic jerks and sleep transitional events is that they're kind of a mini version of insomnia itself, meaning having a hypnic jerk is completely normal. We have them all the time. My wife, as I mentioned many times, I noticed her having these hypnic jerks every single night. That's how I know she's falling asleep. Same thing with insomnia itself, like sleeplessness, having a night where you sleep for a little too nights. That is not a problem. That is normal. It's when we start reacting to it that it becomes a problem. If you have a hypnic jerk and you notice it, or this hypnic awareness too, you're like falling asleep and you're aware of falling asleep and you're like, whoa, something is off, something is wrong. And then it happens again. It's like something is really wrong. That is like that triggers it, that triggers that's what kind of starts the problem, if you will, and then starts the avoidance behavior. Like, I have to do something to stop it, which makes you pay more attention to it. Now you're really focused on it. I'm going to try this mineral. No, that didn't work. It made it worse. What's wrong with me? These events are totally fed by our attempts of preventing them, avoiding them, escaping them, etc. And the silver lining here is that I find on this channel, like Faye, who had a question earlier in this episode, got past them very quickly. And that's the encouraging thing with hypnic jerks is, in my experience, they very rarely last that long. A couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe. But I've never actually. Now, am I lying here or not? I don't think I ever came across anybody who's had them for a long time. I think they're pretty self-limiting, and I think that's because the cycle is quick, as opposed to insomnia. It's kind of like it takes a long time to develop, like, really that whole belief system that creates it, versus these hypnic jerks. It's a quicker cycle. So anyway, long story short, there, I think when someone starts looking at this, was really helpful to Faye. If you can start looking at these jerks as just a sign that you're about to fall asleep, it just your body's telling you that you're about to fall asleep, and you don't try to do anything to avoid them, you don't read up, you give them no attention, they go away. In fact, they don't go away. This is an interesting thing. They don't go away, but you stop noticing them. You stop paying attention to them. You have one, you don't forget. You forget it. You don't even notice that you have them. So, Abhi, hope this helped. Good luck with your career going forward and everything, and stay in touch. All right. So that's it. Oh, we have a lot of activity here in the comment section. That is really cool. All right. So Zoltan asks, why do you think FFI or SFI is not explained really well? Okay, well, I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb here and say that there are few people who have an incentive to explain them well. Meaning, there are amazing journalists out there, bloggers, there are amazing policymakers out there, amazing scientists out there as well. But a lot of people in those fields, they have to make a living. Right? And how are you, if you study SFI and you write like a paper that describes it as this neurodegenerative disease that has nothing to do with insomnia, that it affects one person in like, I don't know, 1 billion or something, then who's going to publish that paper? Who's interested, right? Nobody is. So the only way you can get some attention, get maybe funding, get eyeballs, get attention, etc., is to insinuate that it has something to do with insomnia. And that's why I believe that these are not explained well. Okay, Tesh has a live question here. I have been on sleep restriction for about 8 months. It still regresses back to almost no sleep at all, sometimes for 3 days at a time. I feel like I'm never going to be able to sleep normally again. It's either one thing or the other. I wake up 2 hours early. I can't go to sleep. It's never consistent, no pattern. How can I ever have sleep confidence? Yeah. I'm totally hearing you, Tesh. The answer to this one is, again, going back to this, like if your thoughts have not changed, it doesn't matter what you do. Like whatever you do is just gonna lead to a result that confirms your thoughts, So it's like if somebody's like, I think I've lost the ability to sleep. That makes me feel super scared. I'm going to spend less time in bed. I'm not sleeping anymore. It just confirms it. It's only when your thoughts have changed that you can actually make progress. And that's really hard. And another way to say the same thing is like, if you're approaching spending less time in bed or sleep restriction as a sleep effort, if you're doing it so that you hope that you can sleep more, that it doesn't work. So I can say this though, that actually tomorrow I'm going to create this new playlist, which I'm going to call the model. And if you, Tash, by the way, check out the 3 videos I made, or is it 3 or 4 videos that on the model, which I'm building here, this is going to teach you, this is going to give you this self-coaching tool that you can use to explore your thoughts and really work with them so you can change your thoughts. And that is more than anything what's going to give you results. So for now, I can just say, Tash, try to explore the child and learn what insomnia is, and try to get to a point where it's like, okay, I understand what it is. It's nothing strange, nothing unusual. There's nothing wrong with me. When your thoughts start changing, that's when you get different results. Now, Malena asks, do you think melatonin can be affected in the brain, or that the gland? Oh, that thing. And I don't think so at all. There's no evidence to it. And the important thing there is, I think, truth seeking is never ever helpful. Well, I would say at least 99.82% of the time. Meaning, there are all these questions that are there is no answer. Like, my opinion is, I don't think it can be. But if you ask somebody else, maybe it could be. Actually, the third person says that. If you read this paper, that. So the process, the behavior of looking for the truth. Can melatonin, the gland be producing, the gland that produces melatonin, can that be messed up with me taking melatonin? That looking for the truth just gives sleep more attention. That produces more sleeplessness, and that makes you feel you have to look more, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the best thing there is to approach the question as you do like an existential question, like how big is the universe? You can never find out. You have to accept that and try to at least avoid the behavior of trying to figure out, like avoid truth searching. In my opinion, extremely important. Yep. So that's that one, Malena. Hope that helped. We answered Abhi's question, and I think we have 3 more here. And this is from, oh no, that was the wrong one. We have 2 more then. Okay. Oh, this is from Anne. This is from Anne. Came in one day ago. I can't sleep at all. I have been to many MDs and natural MDs, and they say they can help, but in the end, they end up doing nothing, and I end up paying thousands of dollars. Really? That's terrible. I only sleep 1 to 3 hours at first, and then I'm awake for several hours before I can fall asleep again, and then it's sleep for 30 to 60 minutes before I wake up, then do it again a couple more times before I get up. I've tried sleep restriction, sleeping pills, adrenal fatigue. Maybe that's the thing. I have high cortisol levels, low cortisol levels, flatline cortisol. I've tried many supplements. I get these diagnoses and the treatments do not work, and the MDs give up. If I don't go to bed, I will be awake for several days straight, and when I do fall asleep, I only sleep 1 to 3 hours, and then I'm back awake. Can you help, or is this a lost cause? There are no lost causes in the sleep world. Absolutely not. As we talked about in this channel, like, no matter what it feels like, you cannot lose the ability to sleep, but you can completely lose confidence in your ability to sleep, which in one way has pretty much the same results, right? If you think I can't sleep, then that thought is going to confirm that. Like, the results you get are going to confirm that thought. So you have to change that thought. That is the key. Now, how do you do that? Well, reading this email, and I think you have gone down the rabbit path, the rabbit hole. You have seen so many doctors. You've tried a lot of things. You are confused. You don't understand what's going on. You feel hopeless. You feel frustrated. Getting to a place where you sleep well, is not complicated. It's not complicated at all, but it is going to be a lot of work, because all these thoughts, like I can't sleep on my own, I can't sleep at all, what else? Something's wrong with the sleep system. All these thoughts need to change, and the work to get there is not easy. I want to say that you can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone who's motivated and willing to change their thoughts can get to a place where they sleep well, 100%. Now, I think a lot of people can do really well just by browsing this channel, sending me questions, etc. Other people need someone to work with, and I know you spent a lot of money already. Well, I can say this: Michael Schwartz. If you go to his website, Sleep on Q, SLE, sleep, the word sleep on, and then the word and the letter Q, sleeponq.com or .co, no, it's .com. He does sleep coaching for just a gift, or he doesn't even ask for it. He says, if you liked what I said or we talked about, then you can leave a donation. He's really smart and really knowledgeable. And then we have Martin Reed, my friend Martin Reed, insomniaccoach.com. He has a program. It's a very good program as well. And I'm here too. So I want to say, just try to educate yourself on this channel, Anne, and keep in touch, like send me questions. And by the way, I'm going to myself start working with people in 2 ways. One is going to be an app where I do it's a curriculum, and then you can text me questions. And the other one is going to be a video-based course where I'm going to use this model, and I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be really good, and that's going to launch in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for those ones for sure. And hang in there, Anne. Stay in touch. And then, okay, and Pexi, by the way, I don't know if you're hearing this, Pexi, but thanks so much for answering those questions that I want to say Danelo, my namesake Danelo had, and then Danelo did say I could maybe comment on some things today, which were the following. Do you think my fixed bedtime to be kind of stressful as well in terms of sleep wake, because my issue has never been that of circadian rhythm cycle, and even if this was usually easily fixed within 2 days, my issue has been anxiety about sleep / not sleeping. And what happens is that looking at the clock as my bedtime approaches has an anxiety creating effect. That being said, what do you think of bed wake times in my case? In the past, I've rarely managed to adhere to a schedule even for a month, but slept well when I did sleep. Forgot to mention that sometimes I really sleep to the point of not being able to concentrate at about 5, 6 p.m. And yet at 12, I'm not sleepy, if this even makes sense. I'm contemplating just not caring at all whatsoever. Actually, let's start there. And that's what Pexi always says. Like, if you don't care whether you sleep or not, that is the way, the path, that will lead you to a good place. That is true. That is so true. Like, somebody who sleeps well, they do that because in a way they don't care. They don't think about sleep. They're not worried about it. They don't care. And if you can do that, like if you do that thought leap from like, I'm worried about my sleep, maybe it's like one thing, to like, I don't care if I sleep or not. If you can do that, you're going to sleep really well. No question about that. Now, in terms of like this bedtime thing, I think it is very common. Somebody has had trouble sleeping, that just thinking about bedtime when it gets closer, that produces a lot of anxiety. That's super common. And I to give you something practical that I think is important is this one, that you always hear a lot about this, like you have to have a good bedtime ritual. You have to do these things in sequence so you can sleep better. I think that is absolutely wrong. I think that just creates more anxiety. I think the best thing to do is having something you look forward to. You do like in bed or just before you go to bed, like watching that Netflix or Hulu show or something like that. Something like, I'm excited about going to bed. I'm going to watch this show. And then whenever I feel sleepy, I'm going to sleep. I think that's a great one. I think going to bed at the same time is never good. I think just not knowing what time it is much better. I do think getting out of bed at the same time every morning is good. I think that is good. That sets kind of like an anchor so you can have a sleep, routine can form around that. And just kind of, maybe avoid, stop watching, stop knowing what time it is in the evening. That can also help. And then, guess what? When you start sleeping better, you're going to care less. You're going to be less worried about it. So Danelo, just stay in touch. Let me know how things go. And we have answered that one. Was there anything more? Let's just take a quick look here at in the comments section and make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say to Hilver that, let's see, how are we on time today? For I think Hilver, if you hear this, I'm gonna make another a separate episode on panic attacks. We can learn a lot from them, and I'm gonna go over what the key is to kind of getting past those ones as well. So with that said, I want to say thank you to everyone that sent emails. This was really cool. Logan, Zoltan, Tesh, Malena, Natasha, to everyone who had live comments here. I really appreciate. So that said, we'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to complete this model. tomorrow, and we will go from there. Thank you. Bye-bye.